Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is TVP World. You're watching World News Tonight. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee. It's Christmas time around the world, and in Poland, Christmas Eve remains the most cherished day of the holiday season. Tonight, we'll visit the flood victims who are striving to keep the spirits of Christmas alive despite their circumstances. More on this in just a moment, but first, let's take a look at the latest headlines. Moldova's Maia Sandu starts her second presidential term with bold European vision. Polish MP turns cashier to challenge Christmas Eve work ban. Christmas Eve tradition, the mystery of talking animals. Polish artillery units will soon be equipped with new drones designed to provide advanced warnings about threats on the battlefield. On Tuesday, the Polish Ministry of Defense finalized an agreement for their procurement. Christoph Panik has the details.
Artillery units operating in Ukraine are often faced with counter-battery fire. Long-range Russian drones seek out and strike howitzers when they are vulnerable. The Polish armed forces are taking steps to mitigate this risk by providing artillery units with their own drones, able to provide early warning.
We signed a deal for drones which will protect, among others, the Homar K missile launchers and K9 howitzers. This is a measure taken so that artillery can feel safe. This will be the eyes and ears of the Polish artillery.
The contract will provide Polish armed forces with two types of drones, manufactured by the Polish company WB Electronics. These machines will give artillery crews a much wider field of view, allowing them to detect threats from far away and take the appropriate measures. One type of drone that will be used is called Fly-Eye and is already a vital tool of the Ukrainian armed forces.
The company we signed the contract with today has enormous experience and my trust. Experience coming not only from our soldiers, but also from where the system is being used right now, where it is much needed.
Additionally, Polish artillery crews will receive an electronic reconnaissance system. The delivery of the drones is scheduled to begin next year and conclude in 2028.
For many, this festive season is a time to reunite with loved ones and celebrate at home. However, hundreds of families displaced by a devastating flood in southwestern Poland 3 months ago are still unable to return. Our reporter Orthodox visited these communities to see how they're preparing for the holidays.
September's flood has left deep scars in the affected communities. In such conditions, even Christmas time is marked by uncertainty.
At this point, I really don't know how I'm going to spend Christmas. I have no idea.
There's much work ahead. The Christmas break will not be long for the flood victims.
We're taking a break for the holidays, and then back to work.
Proper rebuilding after the flood will start after the winter. Some repairs are already underway, but not everything can be easily restored. Buildings labeled as life-threatening are cleared out of the way.
3 months ago, one of the walls of this building was damaged by the flooding. Back then, we spoke to one of the ladies who used to live there, and she recounted the moments when the flood destroyed all of her belongings. Now her house is getting demolished.
Those who cannot return to their homes are temporarily housed in places like this one.
There they have shelter and food until we offer them new housing, which we are in the process of preparing.
The church has also helped in Christmas preparations.
All flood victims will receive a food package, which will include various items needed to organize a Christmas celebration.
According to the parish, there are 140 families in Lądek-Zdrój who cannot return to their homes for Christmas.
They'll get the worst of it. We organize all kinds of help, and they don't even have a place to store these things.
More tough months are ahead.
The buildings affected by the flood have still not dried completely, and in the cold months of winter they are unlikely to dry anytime soon. And to show you how high the water was here, you can see the wet marks on the building and how high they reach. When I stand here and reach as far as I cannot go anywhere near the top of the wet mark. I would say it's about 3 to 4 meters high.
Just in Lądek-Zdrój, a town of some 5,000 residents, the losses are enormous.
Damage to the property that we manage as a municipality exceeds 300 million zloty. Losses due to the destruction affecting housing communities and private property amount to another 300 million. Then there's the infrastructure managed by local government units, for example roads and bridges. So these losses are unimaginable.
Despite all this, the impacted communities are doing what they can to make the Christmas time special. A monumental Christmas tree decorates the market square in Lądek-Zdrój. But behind the glistening Christmas lights, the destruction brought by the high water still lurks.
Maia Sandu has officially begun her second term as Moldova's president. Backed by the Party of Action and Solidarity, Sandu triumphed in the runoff election held on November 3rd. During her inauguration speech, she reaffirmed Moldova's commitment to European integration. Sonia Agatabishchan reports.
Maia Sandu has been officially sworn in as the president of Moldova for a second term.
Finally, dear citizens, I tell you with my hand on my heart, I worked with dedication in my first term, and I will continue with even more will and energy. After 4 years, I can humbly say that together we have done something that has never been done in 30 years of independence.
Observers have described the circumstances of the latest presidential election as, quote, extremely challenging, with allegations of Russian interference abounding. With a modest force of just 6,000 soldiers and a border stretching over 1,200 kilometers with Ukraine, Moldova feels rather vulnerable to Russian influence.
Russia is using any means possible to blow up any hopes of European integration. Corruption is used by Russian Federation as a weapon against the populace of the Republic of Moldova, as it was used also in Ukraine.
However, the pro-EU Sandu managed to secure victory in the presidential runoff election with over 55% of the vote. So what did Sandu exactly do that hasn't been done before? Prior to Sandu, Moldova was largely governed by pro-Russian officials, which benefited a few oligarchs, leaving the rest of the population to fend for themselves. Sandu, a Harvard graduate with the reputation of an honest politician determined to fight corruption, broke the class ceiling to become the country's first female president and earned the respect of top EU officials.
Dear @Sandu Maia MD, congratulations on your inauguration today. Despite foreign forces working against you, you won fair and square. Your integrity and determination inspire us all. You can count on me as Moldova moves forward on its path to our union.
Sandu's victory doesn't signal an end to challenges in Moldova, though. Corruption, rooted in a Soviet legacy, continues to disrupt the country's internal governance. And despite the Kremlin's denials of meddling in the last election, Russian influence remains a significant threat, particularly with the 2025 parliamentary elections around the corner.
The vote on the 3rd of November for Mrs. Sandu was not, let's say, a vote only for Mrs. Sandu. It was a vote against Russia. But this major victory on the 3rd of November will not happen again at the parliamentary elections. And we, in my opinion, we will see a resurrection of the Russian interests here in Moldova.
With Moldova officially being an EU candidate since 2022, an EU survey has revealed that 76% of respondents believe their country enjoys positive relations with the bloc. Despite that, the already pervasive signs of Russian influence signal a challenging start to Sandu's second term.
A Russian cargo ship sank in the Mediterranean on Monday night after an explosion tore through its engine room. 14 of the ship's 16 crew members were rescued and brought to Spain, but 2 remain missing. Our correspondent Oskadji has a report.
The Russian Foreign Ministry has confirmed that a Russian government-owned cargo ship has sunk in the Mediterranean after experiencing an explosion in its engine room. We understand that 14 of 16 crew members were rescued and have been transferred to Spain, but the fate of the remaining 2 crew members remains unknown. This is yet another embarrassing situation for the Russian government, government with regards to its activities at sea, having suffered greatly in the Black Sea region due to Ukrainian military activity. The Ukrainians claim that this ship was not on its way to Vladivostok, as the Russians claim, but was instead on its way to the Syrian port of Tartus, where it is expected to transfer Russian military equipment away from Syria. We also understand that the ship was laden with 2 cargo cranes that the Russians were hoping to use in Vladivostok to alleviate some of their shipping delays that are occurring around the port area in the far east of Russia. So yet again, another embarrassing situation for Russia and its activities at sea, as the Ursa Major, a Russian Defense Ministry controlled ship, has reportedly sunk in the Mediterranean. It's Oz Kataji reporting from Kyiv for TVP World.
While in many countries, Christmas Day or even Boxing Day are the most celebrated days, in Poland, Christmas Eve takes the spotlight. Surprisingly, it's still officially a working day for millions, though that may change soon. On Tuesday, the debate took an unexpected turn. Michael Wilmenstein reports.
A centrist free market firebrand, Ryszard Petru has been a fixture in Poland's political scene for almost a decade. By working the registers and filling shelves at a supermarket on Christmas Eve, he wants to show that it can't be that bad.
Selling the product is one issue, but somebody's producing it. And you've got bread there, you've got meat, dairy, whatever, and somebody's producing this kind of stuff, and then we sell it. Okay, so the less we sell, the less we produce, the less we make money.
Petru's single day of retail work stems from multiple challenges put to him on X last month, after his vocal opposition against making Christmas Eve a day off.
There have been questions about whether I would like to sit behind the register of a discount supermarket on Christmas Eve. I will be happy to do that, waiting for proposals.
His stance on the issue has sparked a lot of criticism on the social media platform.
This has nothing to do with the everyday lives of people working the registers and about whom we are having this debate. This is not how this works. Maybe you are ridiculing these workers. For this to be serious, you would need to work there for a whole week and also plan the time to prepare the Christmas Eve dinner by yourself for the whole family. Wow, 1 full day behind the register.
Political stunts aside, most Poles disagree with him on this topic. Polls show having Christmas Eve as a national holiday is a popular idea. That's why the left group, which like Petru's Poland 2050 party is a member of the current ruling coalition, has proposed a bill that would change Christmas Eve into a national holiday. Even Petru's own party overwhelmingly voted in favor of the measure.
Obviously, we want people to take some rest, so to have some free time, because this is a Christmas time. At the same time, the Christmas Eve is a very special day where half of this day we work, and those who are producing goods in Poland and offering services, they also want to earn money, and this is fully understandable.
The debate will rage on, at least until Poland's President Andrzej Duda decides whether to sign the bill into law, which he's shown a willingness to do. Once he does, Poles who are actually working in retail can spend the day preparing for the traditional 12-dish, carb-heavy evening dinner.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu faces renewed scrutiny as his corruption trials enter 6th day. Our correspondent Diana Skyle reports live from Jerusalem with the latest developments.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is facing ongoing legal battles over multiple corruption charges. Now, they include bribery, fraud, and breach of trust in 3 separate cases. These cases are known as Case 1000, 2000, and 4000, respectively. And now they involve allegations of receiving expensive gifts from billionaires, attempting to manipulate media coverage, and granting regulatory favors to a telecom company here in Israel in exchange for positive press. Now, Netanyahu denies all charges, of course. He claims that they are politically motivated and part of a witch hunt that was orchestrated by his opponents. Now, his trial actually began in 2020, and it's been delayed. And while his legal team does continue to argue for his acquittal, the evidence that's being presented in court has raised serious questions about his conduct, and they also include actually his wife, Sarah Netanyahu. Now, if Netanyahu is ultimately indicted and convicted, it could have significant political and legal implications. Now, under Israeli law, a sitting prime minister is not required to resign if indicted, but a conviction could lead to his removal from office. And in the event of a conviction, Netanyahu would face a potential prison sentence, although any legal proceedings could be drawn out for years because of the appeals that may take place. Now, in the meantime, Netanyahu is continuing to lead the government, but the ongoing corruption cases have sparked massive protests, a growing public discontent. His political future really remains uncertain. People are really watching closely how the legal system is going to hold him accountable, if he'll be able to maintain his grip on power despite the charges. And let's not forget another very important point here is that Israelis are also blaming him for October 7 for the hostages that are still held up in Gaza and for him not doing enough in order to retrieve these hostages back into Israel and to strike a final deal with Hamas that would see the 96 so far hostages still left in the Gaza Strip to get them back to Israel. Diana Sky for TVP World in Jerusalem.
Once a year on Christmas Eve, legend has it that animals are granted the uncanny ability to speak. But what are the origins of this Slavic tradition, and why do Poles believe it happens on this magical night? Alex Solminski has the story.
Meet Samba, a 7-year-old pup adopted from the shelter by her owner Paulina. Samba has a couple of tricks up her sleeve, but there's another ability attributed to pets and livestock in Poland where a holiday tradition says that animals can speak on Christmas Eve.
We believe that animals speak with a human voice. It's a proof of how important animals are to us and how we want to understand them better.
The Catholic explanation for why animals can speak on this special day is connected to the birth of Jesus. The news of the Messiah's arrival was supposed to have been heralded by animals, which is why they're depicted in nativity scenes. The belief is also associated with the Polish tradition of breaking wafers at the Christmas table.
When I was a boy, I remember that on Christmas Eve, my grandfather would bring out the Christmas wafer, the white one, which symbolizes bread. This was for sharing among the people at the Christmas Eve dinner table. A colored wafer, which was pink or green, would be brought out to the cowshed before midnight and put in the animals' hay, with the belief that at midnight, the animals would speak to us in our human language.
Nativity scenes with live animals are also very popular in Poland. This tradition goes back many centuries.
In the 13th century, St. Francis of Assisi took up this tradition, in the year 1223 to be exact, when he created the first ever nativity scene with people and live animals.
Father Radosław has 3 alpacas on the grounds of his parish in Konstancin Jeziorna near Warsaw. Athos, Portos, and Aramis take part in the parish's nativity scene each year at Christmas. This year will be no different. The 3 furry musketeers are great with children and are a popular attraction for local families. Nativity scenes in Poland are typically put up on December 24th and remain on display until the beginning of February. What do pet owners think their pets might say on Christmas Eve?
Samba is from the shelter dog, so I think this year she tells people to remember all the dogs and cats who then don't have their own home. And then she'll say, "Now hug me," because on Christmas Eve everyone can be close to each other. That's the best gift.
So if you're visiting friends or family this holiday season in Poland, put your big ears on, as you may just hear an animal speak, and be on the lookout for beautiful nativity scenes.
As Christmas brings joy and reflection worldwide, it also offers a moment to explore deeper topics. Our focus tonight shifts to the impact of organized religion on political life, especially in the context of ongoing conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East. To lead this discussion, we turn to TVP World's Sally Yashemska, who is joined by Jan Hartman, a renowned professor from Jagiellonian University.
Christmas is one of the most joyful times of the year, especially for Christians. Today, however, it will serve as an excuse to tackle one of the most difficult topics out there, namely religion. To talk about organized religion and its impact on political life, also in the context of the ongoing war in Ukraine and the Middle East, I am joined here by Jan Hartman, Professor of Philosophy, Jagiellonian University. Hello, sir. Delighted to have you with us. Thank you for joining.
It's my pleasure to be with you. Hello.
So let's start with Christmas. Here we have a religious holiday which has become a part of secular tradition. So what makes Christmas so special that it managed to bridge this division between church and state?
Well, I think that this is the holiday for everyone, for the religious people and for the non-religious people too. And it's very important, especially on the day of the 24th of December, the eve of Christmas, which even is celebrated by Jews. By the way, Hanukkah begins exactly on December 25th, but there was a discussion about making the 24th, the eve of the Christmas, free of Labor Day, another one. And the argument for that was that this is the common festival, common holiday for the whole community of Poland, religious and non-religious. And I must assert that myself, I am not religious, neither Christian nor Jewish, however, I am a Jew. But I always celebrate, since I remember, this special day, because this is the day when the new year begins, really, because this is the beginning of winter. The daylight begins to get longer every day, minute by minute. And this is the reason the people of the North Hemisphere celebrates they have been celebrating for thousands of years, and we feel this connection to our ancestors. And so it's not religious in a narrow sense, it's metaphysical. And all of us, all Poles and all people at least in the Western world, feel the sanctity of this day.
Right, so let's perhaps take a closer look at the Orthodox Church of Ukraine. I mean, speaking about December 25th, because it is a newly created independent church that held its first service in 2019, and it has also changed its Christmas date to the 25th of December. So it formally broke away from the Russian Orthodox Church. So why is this division so significant? Why it was significant for the Orthodox Church of Ukraine to break away from the Russian Orthodox Church, and how shall we understand that in the context of the war?
Well, the Orthodox Church of Russia is a part of the regime. The general regime, the constitution of Russia now is very similar to the constitution of the old Russia of Tsars, where when the church, the Orthodox Church, was one of the two major pillars of the state, the secular state and the religious part of the state. And so if Ukraine is now in a conflict with Russia, it is at the same time in the conflict with the largest Orthodox Church. However, there is a strong tradition of splitting in the Orthodox Church. There are many Orthodox churches, and there are many churches which are in between Catholic Church and Orthodox Church. It's so-called Unitarian churches. So there is nothing strange about the fact that the Orthodox Ukrainian Church regains independence, and it shows its connection to the state of Ukraine, to the Ukrainian ambitions to be part of the West. accepting the liturgic calendar of the West, of the Catholic West. It seems to be technical, but it is deeper. It's also theological. The theological discourse of the Orthodox Church is of course different than the Catholic Church, but in both churches, Orthodox and Catholic, there is a part addressed to the other part, constituting the openness for the future unification. So it's nothing very odd that they make a step towards the West, because in the far future there should be one church, one Christian church. You know, Orthodox means ritus in terms of dogmas, and Catholic means popular, all world, popular, universal. So these two definitions may in the future be combined. This is what all Christians believe, and we need to remember also that for Catholics, baptizing in kids baptized in Orthodox Church are legally baptized. So this split, this division of two churches, it's not that deep. But the Orthodox Church of Russia is very far from the West because of political reasons.
Professor, but how important is religion during the time of war? Of course, we can take a look at the Middle East. Perhaps there it will be more apparent. But it seems that religion is very important for one's identity, right? I mean, it can also lead to radicalization. But I mean, how important is religion?
Extremely important for all people who are threatened, who are upset, who are killed or wounded. This possibility to gather in church is absolutely crucial to maintain hope and to maintain unity of the society. I'm not religious, I'm not pious, but I understand that when people are really upset and oppressed, they need to have those who give them hope for the future. So even in Poland, in the eastern part of Poland, where there is a kind of echoic fear of war, people go to the church more often than usually. Generally speaking, Poland is slowly secularizing. Also, the Ukrainian society, as far as I know, I'm not a specialist in Ukraine, but this society also undergoes this very general process of secularization. But in this very time of the war, the churches, either Catholic or Orthodox Church, are especially important because they give people consolation, hope, and they also the churches in the time of oppression, like during the Marshall State in Poland 43 years ago, the churches serve as charity points or charity centers. So they, for instance, the priests gather goods for people in need and distribute these goods, and it's a very important non-religious function of all churches in the world. So during the war, the church is important. However, sometimes churches or religious institutions also help aggressors. Okay, in Russia, Orthodox priests encourage soldiers to be brave. Well, because the churches are usually more or less connected to the power, to the political power, and patriotic. So those who are patriotic in the aggressive regimes, in the aggressive countries, serve bad, the wrong side, the wrong case. But in the countries which are defending themselves, churches are very brave and righteous. They just help the people to survive.
And on this note, we have to conclude. Jan Hartman, thank you, Professor, for being with us this evening and for sharing your knowledge. And I would also like to wish you happy holidays.
Happy holidays for everyone. Thank you very much.
And with that, we conclude this edition of World News Tonight. Merry Christmas, and for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVB World.